just looked like the biggest idiot. But
so it'd be
nothing
easier
new.
to study a country that no one knows about versus everyone knows about the United States. So when you answer it wrong, everyone knows that you're answering it wrong.
Right, yeah. It could be like, China, what is your position on this issue? And they would say something. And
Or Kazakhstan, since you said you didn't know
Yeah,
anything
well,
about that
I
country.
don't know that. About that one.
Didn't Delahunty write the torture memos?
Oh,
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, because he worked in the Bush administration.
He had significant ties. He had significant ties to like that issue, so that's probably why he wanted to show off his knowledge and
Of torture.
at my expense.
So, speaking of torture, Robby, cold call. We'd like to play a game with you. And
Sounds like Saul.
and so we're gonna ask you judicial trivia questions.
Okay.
And then if you get a wrong answer, we have this cup of shame that's right in front of you that has a couple different questions in it for you to answer. But if you get them right, you don't have to dive into there. So
I like that the cup of shame is a red Solo cup because there's a lot of shame that comes from red
There's a
Solo
lot of
cups throughout life.
It's really symbolic.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
are you ready?
Always.
That's true. You are 3L. So all of these are going to be super
This
easy,
is
right?
this is when you butter up the thing so you can just strike it down mercilessly.
Which U.S. Supreme Court case upheld separate but equal segregation laws in states?
Oh, this is the 1890s one. Plessy v. Ferguson.
Very good. Very good. I have to ask some harder ones here.
You don't have to.
So you know which circuit court of appeals the Hawaii is based out of.
Yes.
You also must know which one Texas is based out of.
Obviously.
Which circuit court is Vermont based out of?
No, it's either the second.
Very good. Wow.
Had to do the map in my head. Like carry the one, multiply.
Yeah.
You did so well. Here's a more challenging one. Name, and no one's gotten this one right, by the way, for the people that we've asked it. So if you could be the first.
We've had professors on here too.
Yeah, and we've had professors on here too. Name the first 3 chief justices to the U.S. Supreme Court.
John Jay.
That's one.
It's one.
You got 2 more.
I feel like Marshall was the 4th. Like I feel like he's not actually in the top 3. So I'm gonna hold off that one for a second.
Okay.
Because remember John Jay hated it, so he was like, "Get me the hell out of here." Was Madison one of them? Dang. Okay.
No.
Wrong.
Womp womp.
Any other guesses? If you just start stating a whole bunch of old people names, it usually works. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll go with Marshall, but I don't think he was one of the top 3.
He was actually the
He
4th.
was.
Yeah.
He was the 4th. I was right.
You're
Ah, dang it. That should give me some
That's
credit.
even better considering, like, like radio stations will take the 5th caller.
Right.
Sorry, that's dumb.
Why?
I don't know. I need to go home. Is what I need.
It's finals. It's finals time. Anthony is just...
I'm fried. Well, I have 2 trials in June, so I am.
already finished with all your finals.
I'm finished. I have 2 trials that I'm preparing for. That's why I worked late today.
All right. Would you guys? Does anybody have any guesses or?
I'm thinking Johnson is one of them.
I've heard this question like 3 times. I still don't remember.
Bill.
Bill.
Yeah.
Bill, yeah.
Billiam.
My final answer.
Billiam.
So the second Chief Justice to the U.S. Supreme Court was John Rutledge.
Oh,
no. Another
Of
John.
course.
Yeah.
Rutledge. My boy.
classic Rutledge Court. Everyone knows that one.
And then the last one, this is where you're going to be like, of course, it's Oliver Ellsworth.
Everyone's favorite justice.
Classic Oliver.
Did my boy Oliver wrong. I'm sorry.
Oliver, yeah, boy.
And so you have the cup of shame in there.
Into the red solo cup of shame.
Shame.
Okay. What is one of your biggest regrets? Wow.
Leaving Texas.
Coming to
Just
the cold
really
Minnesota.
laying down the hammer here. One of my biggest regrets. well, maybe pretty deep. I had a friend in high school who passed away.
R.I.P.
From, yeah, well, it was from his own, it was suicide, basically.
Oh.
So there was a lot of signs that I know now, having gone through that experience and done a lot of research and been involved in groups to make sure that I know what those signs are. There's a lot of things that were big blaring sirens. So my biggest regret would be that I didn't know those signs back then to be able to talk to him or try to get him the help that he needed. He was an amazing guy, made a lot of incredible music, and still has a big place in a lot of our hearts in high school. But I would say that's my biggest regret, is I just didn't recognize the signs that I know now and wasn't able to help him back when he needed it.
Did it come as a shock to you when that happened?
It was a complete shock. None of us saw it coming. I mean, he was always kind of like a more melancholy guy, but that was just kind of his aesthetic, we thought.
Mm-hmm.
And the couple months before his passing, he had gotten like really happy and had started being involved in all these things and was like super chipper. And we were like, wow, like seems like he's really like coming around. But what it's a very clear sign of now is once someone has decided on a date that they're going to do it, then they typically have a very drastic mood change because the pressure is, for all intents and purposes, off them because they know like, okay, here's when it's ending. And so instead of just being like, wow, our friend's like super fun to hang out with again, it was a sign of like something is not right here. So it came as a huge shock to us. We ended up doing like this huge like music night where a bunch of people just came and played music like to celebrate him. And there's a park we always hung out at that has like a bench in his honor, and that I'll still go to when I go back to Texas from time to time. So still things there, but it was definitely a big surprise. Again, not knowing what I know now. So
It's deep.
yeah.
Yeah. You can't like blame yourself as like a high schooler for not picking up on those things.
And I
either,
don't.
So
Yeah, and I don't. That decision was his decision to make. But it's kind of one of those things of when you care about someone, you always wish that you could have done more. But it's also a long time ago, and it's not like it doesn't hurt. It's kind of like I wish that you could be working your millennial job now, and like
Yeah.
if and then today I get married, I'd be like, oh, I wish I could have invited you, type thing. So like things like that. But it's been a long time.
Yeah, working that millennial job.
Oh.
Missing out.
What was the first millennial job you had?
I worked at McDonald's when I was 16. But
Ooh.
that's not really... That was probably one of my best starting jobs. I actually recommend people starting at fast food or those kind of jobs growing up.
Yeah, define millennial.
Yeah,
What
that's
does
what
that
I'm
What's a
mean?
kind of...
millennial job?
Does it just mean you're a millennial and you got a job?
Yeah, I think it's like the first time a millennial gets like a job outside of like college or something, and they're like, "Wait, I was told I was going to get a huge salary," and it's the classic millennial salary of like $35,000.
I was a paralegal as my first non-college job.
I worked at Target Corporate in the fraud department.
Fraud?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Colleen is on the case.
It's fun.
I worked at Target as a sales associate when I was in college. I worked there for one day, and I hated it so much that I quit. That's the next day I quit.
I worked at when I went to UMD, I worked in the dining center, and I hated it so much. So they had the big carts that had all the glasses on them, but they're stacked in those big cup racks.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to wheel them all the way down to the dining, like the washing area. There's this big ramp. You roll it down like a handicap ramp. Well, it got clipped on this like piece of tile, and they all just went tumbling all the way down the ramp. I threw my shirt down and my apron. I was like, "Nope, I'm out of here." I left. I was
So
like,
you left it for someone else to clean
I left
up?
it for someone else to do. I was like, I am done with
This is the
this.
last straw.
I had sympathy for you until you told me you left it for someone else.
I was like, "Nope, I am
way.
out." Just hundreds of glasses just roll. They were plastic, so they didn't break, but they were just rolling down.
Oh.
You know those cheap lunchroom?
Oh yeah, I know
Plastic
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was like, "Nope, I'm done."
When I was in a dorm, I did not work at the dining hall, but something happened where someone was like pushing a cart, and somehow they got their foot caught in a grate, and an ambulance had to come. It was really bad. That's the story.
What?
Seeing the connection.
there was a skip step there.
Yeah.
I feel like.
I don't know. That's all
Someone
the
was
facts I
pushing
know.
a cart, and then
Yeah,
their
and
foot
somehow
got stuck in a
that
grate.
happened. Like their job in the dining hall ended up with their foot getting caught in a grate while they were pushing a cart, and like the weight of it or something made a very gross thing happen to their foot, and then so bad that they called 911.
Wait, what kind of gross thing?
I don't know.
Like a compound fracture?
Yeah, like blood and probably bones sticking out.
Well, there was a
I
guy who
imagine.
got really drunk and swan dived off the stairs, and now I think he either died or is in a coma. That was interesting.
That's uplifting.
What?
My freshman year of college.
Because of the dining hall?
No, not the dining hall. I was just saying.
Was
I
Spilled a
was-
bunch of cups.
Did
Weird.
he have to clean it up? Was he?
He loved that. He left it there. I'm like, what a dick.
What kind of trash person does that? You know?
Yeah.
My God, he could be dead now. I'm laughing at his expense.
Thanks so much, Robby, for coming
that
in
note.
today. On that note, thanks for coming in and for being a pal, for playing cold call with us.
We have no
and,
chill.
and talking with us about your opportunity in Hawaii.
Thank you for having me, and as the people next to me devolve.
They're throwing up gang signs. Were those gang
Yeah.
signs?
No.
Palabra. That's word in Spanish.
But yeah,
Palabra.
we're just being cool. and-
Yeah, you know.
It is final season,
It's
as
finals.
the illustrious
Makes you
host
do
said.
stupid
Yeah.
shit.
I'm losing my mind.
Same.
Word. Thank you for listening to Cold Call Lawcast. You can find us at Cold Call Lawcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While you're there, ask us any question you like and we'll answer it on our next episode. Until then, we'll see you next time.